Coming up, it's almost time for the Grammys. Indigenous composers, musicians, and industry experts tell us why they're expecting a lack of Native people there. Plus,
that was so appropriate.
We learn what major event prompted this reaction from the director of the National Museum of the American Indian. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Cynthia Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amidawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. I am Cynthia Chavez. New research indicates that the number of children who died at Indian boarding schools could reach far beyond current estimates. Even worse, the research indicates that the practice of sending sick children home likely infected natives all across Turtle Island, pushing the death toll related to schools even higher. ICT's Mary Annette Pember has more.
In his doctoral dissertation, Preston McBride says records show up to 40,000 children may have died at the schools. A 2021 federal report estimated 500 students died, but said that number could soar. McBride also found that many students died after being sent home ill with tuberculosis and other diseases. Native populations plunged by a third between 1860 and 1900, mostly from diseases such as tuberculosis. McBride's analysis? Shipping home sick students spread tuberculosis and other diseases across tribal nations and caused deaths linked to boarding schools that far exceed the numbers of students buried in school cemeteries.
You know, when you're sending a sick student home to a reservation, often terminally ill, that has, appalling inadequate medical care to begin with, it's often a death sentence. In addition, that student's often a vector for disease. So they're going home with communicable diseases and then spreading that disease to their family and communities.
Which, according to McBride's research, was generally met with a blind eye by the U.S. government.
I term the children who died in boarding schools acceptable collateral damage to the United States government because they have a similar objective. Their objective is no more Indians, whether they're assimilated and become white or they die. The end result is the same. It's getting rid of the Indian problem. And so I think that calculus is built into these institutions. And I think that's why people don't care at the time so much about these deaths.
Mary Annette Pember, ICT News.
January is National Stalker Awareness Month, and violence against American Indian and Alaska Native women remains a serious issue. Nearly 1 in 2 Native women have experienced stalking in their lifetime, according to a national intimate and sexual violence survey. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention defines stalking as a pattern of unwanted, harassing, and threatening tactics. To prevent becoming a victim, the CDC warns to look for signs of unwanted following and approaching, unwanted text messages and calls, and harassment in other forms. In Arizona, the Navajo Nation is seeing much-needed upgrades to health facilities. The state's Department of Health Services has labeled Navajo a medically underserved area, in part because it only has 0.3 hospital beds for every 1,000 residents. That's compared to the statewide average of 1.9. Cronkite News reports that 2 facilities have recently been upgraded to address this issue. They are the Dilkin Medical Center and the Sage Memorial Hospital. The health facilities are set to provide services such as primary and dental care, pharmacy, and medication dispensing. We head now to Australia, where a fire has destroyed an important teaching tool. It was a bark hut outside the Southeast Tasmanian Aboriginal Corporation office, also known as SeaTac, that was dismantled in a blaze on Australia Day weekend. A video of the fire was posted to Snapchat with the caption that read, "SeaTac needs to be destroyed by the sea." Rodney Dillion, the chair of SeaTac, stated in an interview with ABC that the attack was targeted following a deal to grant Aboriginal people fishing rights in the region. The Tasmanian police are investigating the fire. This award season has been a groundbreaking time for Indigenous representation in film and television. But in the music industry, there are 0 Native American nominees for the upcoming Grammy Awards. ICT's Paris Wise spoke with experts in the music industry on why that is and what needs to change.
Whether it's singing for ceremonies or singing in the car, Natives love music. So with the 66th Annual Grammy Awards approaching, why is it that they are still left out of the music industry? There are 94 categories this year, and Natives aren't present in any. In 2011, the Grammys eliminated the category for Native American music, which has since been grouped into the Regional Roots category. Recording Academy member and musician Connor Chi shares that without enough voting members on the inside to get them nominations, representation stays out of reach.
Well, this past year we had more Native entries than ever before that I've seen, which was exciting. And it goes back to that same point, is even though there were more entries and more Native artists on the ballot, we didn't have the voting members because not everybody that was entered knew the whole process behind campaigning and trying to get votes from voting members. And so they were on the ballot. The next step is to have sort of the guidance on how to go through the process to get your music out there and heard by voting members, and getting voting members that are experts in the field, like Native voting members, people that know the music, that understand it, who can cast their votes based on their knowledge and understanding and coming from the community. So I think we're one step there, where we have now more people on the ballot. And so the next step is to get more voting members so that they can actually give a real representation of our music and what should be highlighted.
While the Recording Academy has its own set of rules, Native artists like PJ Vegas are making their own.
We know who we are, we know what we bring to the table, but a lot of the industry isn't really sure of what we got. And they don't really understand that we do a lot more than what they think we do. So whether we have a category or not, if what we're putting out into the world isn't on the same level as our favorite household names, there's kind of a disconnect there, and a kind of the corporate people asking, okay, like, well, why do we need to shed light on this? Why is this such a big deal? It's because they're not really realizing that we're not only speaking for us as an artist, but we're speaking for an entire culture, an entire generation, a whole group of people. And it's not just ourselves. Like, music is very singular. It's very about the artist and the star. And I feel like when Natives move and we're in a room, it's more about us representing for our people.
A wave of Native talent has made it into the spotlight in film and television in the past year. Will it happen for music too? Music artist and Reservation Dogs composer Mato Wayuhi says it will, but it's just a matter of when.
I think what we'll see is similar to what we saw within film and television, where it felt like it was out of nowhere in terms of all of these, Native artists kind of becoming. But the truth is that it's been happening for generations, for, thousands of years. And so it's kind of, a lot of this stuff I've noticed is when the rest of the world is ready for us, not necessarily when we're ready, because we've been ready and we've been creating our sound and creating our cultures and maintaining culture and maintaining tradition while finding contemporary lenses to tell it through. So yeah, it's kind of when the rest of the world is ready for Native music, I believe.
Looking forward on how to gain visibility may require a look at the past, something musicologist and classically trained pianist Renata Yazzie has encountered in her studies.
Native people have been engaging with Western music and Western ideas of music for hundreds of years now. And I think we bring a really great mindset and philosophy behind music and integrate that into whatever kinds of sounds we're interested in producing. A lot of people like to say, music is medicine, and sometimes it can sound a little corny, but I think it's true. There is a healing element to music that our communities really tend to prioritize. And that has stayed the same over the hundreds of years that we've been involved with music. But I think what has evolved is, the technologies that we have been exposed to and the technologies that we've invented ourselves, and just new ways to make sound that's always evolving.
From evolution to revolution, Native music artists of the past paved a way for the new generations.
So for me, I just felt so lucky growing up because I had an example of like Native excellence, like someone that actually came from, the background of, trying to break through these barriers and trying to kick open these doors. And like, they actually had the opportunity to do it. Right. So Redbone really showing that representation on the main screen and the main stage was something that really inspired us all. But I feel like after my dad's era, there was this giant wave where everything was so Native influenced during the 70s and early 80s. And then for a while, it kind of died down. And we kind of went dormant for a while. And there was not a lot of proper representation, or if any, within music or film or anything.
So what opportunities are available in the music industry today? Joe Picara has won 3 Grammys for his work as a tour photographer, where he has found power behind the scenes.
I think people behind the camera can kind of help push things or have more say than someone in front of the camera, because I don't have a PR next to me. I don't have anyone running my Instagram or, telling me what I can or can't say. So to me, I think we kind of are in a more powerful place behind the scenes because of that. And I think we should take more advantage of that than we are. There's so many ways to succeed, whether it be filming or photography or directing or writing songs or coaching or management, anything like that. There's so many more ways that I think are closed off from people to see, that you can be in this industry and not just have to, have a main part in a movie or anything like that. And there's so many different arts within the art of the industry.
Regardless of representation at the Grammys, nominations don't determine validation.
Representation is not necessarily going to save us. There's going to be good Native music wherever you go. There's going to be good Native music, whether or not the Grammys recognizes it. And I think in our communities, when we listen to folks who are involved in the community and who uplift the community and who are really there working in our communities to make it a better place, and they make good music, I think those are the people who are worth recognizing. And that is what really matters, is, are these musicians making a difference in the places that they come from and for, our relatives?
For me personally, just as a musician and as an artist, I think it's good to have those external goals of awards and validation and things like that. But I know many of us as Native artists, it's just a privilege to be able to make music in and of itself and to put on for our communities and our people. And so that is a huge, bonus. And in terms of priorities and whatnot, sometimes those differ from even what the Grammys might necessitate in terms of being nominated and things like that. But yeah, I think we're well on our way to finding what it means for us to be represented and what it means for us to be nominated as well. So,
Paris Wise, ICT News.
The Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian, also known as NMAI, is a mainstay institution and resource for educating the world about Native people of the Western Hemisphere. It operates 3 facilities, which includes 2 in Washington, D.C. and 1 in New York City. The NMAI staff also care for one of the world's most expansive collections of Native artifacts. Cynthia Chavez Lamar is the director of NMAI, and she has been included in some big honors recently.
Cynthia Chavez Lamar, the last time that you joined the ICT Newscast was in January of 2022, and you had just taken the leadership role at NMAI, and you've been through so much since then. I just want to take a moment to catch our viewers up. You were named to Forbes 50 Under 50 Impact list, and you were also inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Has any of this settled in for you yet?
Well, it was really a little bit overwhelming because those two things happened in a short period of time. And I recall getting an email from the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and sort of put it aside, and then a day later actually read it, and I was just kind of perplexed. I was like, really? So, of course, it was a wonderful surprise. And I think it now has finally sort of settled in that, yes, this is real, especially after, attending the induction ceremony and being among so many amazing, accomplished people and just, getting involved in some of the Academy activities. It's become much more real.
One of the key missions of the National Museum of the American Indian is to uplift Native American art. And art, of course, is something that portrays the time period that we're living in right now. And I'd love to ask you what time period we're in as Indigenous people.
Well, I feel like, in terms of our visibility and representation, it's really, I've never seen so many Native people in film, in different types of, streaming programs and being represented in New York on the National Mall. In Italy at the Venice Biennale, Jeffrey Gibson will be, the artist representing the United States in its pavilion. I mean, it's just amazing and so long overdue, right? That I just think we're in a time where, where we feel like we can be seen, right? And that we're accomplished, talented individuals in American and global society. So I'm just really happy to see so many Native and Indigenous people out there representing, our cultures and our arts and our histories.
Speaking about visibility, one of the major stories and all anybody is talking about right now is the actress Lily Gladstone.
Well, of course, I want to congratulate her on the Golden Globe that she won, and of course her recent Oscar nomination for Best Actress. I mean, just so much congratulations and well deserved. From my perspective, to see her on national television accepting the Golden Globe, and then the first thing out of her mouth was the Blackfeet language. That was so appropriate and wonderful, because I think that, the more that we have Native people out there sort of sharing who they are and sharing their culture, and also showing that we're just like you, we're just like everybody else, that I think that makes a real impact. And I think it also, goes a long way in dispelling stereotypes about us, about Native people.
She seems to be very intentional in all of the stages that she shows up in. I've noticed that she's either wearing a Native designer or Native jewelry, Native earrings even.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and now we have, so many more opportunities to represent, Native creatives in that way, right? And to what we wear, the music we listen to, shows that we watch, like Reservation Dogs. So I think that, again, just going back to that visibility and representation, it's so important to feel like, we're here and we're part of American and global society.
We are at the beginning of 2024, so tell us what we have to look forward to in this year from NMAI.
So 2024 is going to be a great, amazing year for the National Museum of the American Indian. We are celebrating 3 anniversaries this year because we have 3 locations. We're celebrating 20 years on the National Mall. This building that I'm in right now was opened in 2004. So we will be celebrating the National Museum of the American Indian in partnership with the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage by producing this year's Folklife Festival in the National Mall, which is titled Indigenous Voices of the Americas. So we're super excited about that. It'll be this 2-week celebration on the National Mall with, all kinds of Indigenous people, from artists to scholars to culture bearers to singers. It's just, going to be a great time to come visit us. So that's in late June and early July.
Cynthia Chavez Lamar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it was great to see you again.
Menogijiga Nungam. Menogijiga Nungam. It is a good day today. Menogijiga Nungam. The word minnow is talking about something that is good, nice, or well. Gijigud is a word for day. And then Nungam means today. So we put all three together, we have Menogijiga Nungam. It is a good day today.
Our next segment highlights an upcoming and one-of-a-kind event in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The experience is promised to be eclectic, even featuring things like neon and abalone shells. Here's this interview with Amy Danette Deal, founder and CEO of Navajo fashion brand For Kinship. Amy, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just jump right in here. Tell us about this really wonderful event coming up that's called Illuminate.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We've been planning it since last year. And, it's kind of a follow-up to the fashion show we did during Indian Market of just creating a really beautiful, safe space for our young people to just be incredibly creative. Having that under a Native brand is so important to me, just in order to make sure that all these young people are really looked after. And we're really excited because it's dark, at 5 o'clock here. So we're going to be starting the performance out in the dark, and we've got this amazing lighting designer from Yawoof that is helping us out. But we have 3 young emerging artists that are going to be performing. One of them is Luca, a Two-Spirit Afro-Indigenous musician from the East Coast. It's the first time they've ever performed here in Santa Fe, and we just found out they got to South by Southwest. So this is kind of a great practice for them before they hit that big stage. But yeah, they have just this amazing performance we're doing 4 different costumes for them, and they're engaging with other dancers. So that one's just going to be so heartfelt about their journey coming back to their indigeneity. And that really was so heartfelt for me because I've had the same experience at a much later age, but for them, just all those things that happened that brought them to the place they want to be. And then we're having James Jones from the North. He's coming down, and I met James at the Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week, and he was one of our models. And I'm just like, oh, James, you have to come down to Santa Fe. So he came down for Auntie, and we're going to have him perform. And he's just such a vibrant personality, and just an amazing community leader. He's just one of those people that everyone looks up to. And then Shondine Laurence, who's from the Southwest, she's here from Santa Fe, from one of the pueblos here. So she'll be performing with some special guests, and really going to be a fun night of just really creative, in terms of movement, sound, and light. But we're working with a bunch of different Indigenous makers. So GNU, the only Indigenous denim company, is working with us. Lehigh Thunder Voice Eagle is doing some things with us. Also, Josh Tafoya is doing some custom pieces. Kellen Trinell, and also Brian Roselle, who's part of the Dene College Artisan Program. So we just have this amazing group of makers that are making these beautiful bespoke pieces for the wardrobe.
What do you ultimately hope that people in attendance are taking away?
Yeah, I think it's just that we're limitless, right? We have to have these spaces where we can create some really unique storytelling, and the idea of bringing like light into the dark season that was so interesting to me. So I thought, we definitely want to try to bring other aspects than just singing or just dancing. We want to bring all those elements in to really create a much broader story together. But more than anything, it's a collaborative team. So it's everybody working together. And we're so grateful to our partnership with International Museum of Dance, because they've been spearheading our fundraising for Kinship Indigenous Futures Fund. Obviously, with all the dancer castings, the production, to be honest, I don't know anything about lighting. So, oh my gosh, to have people from the dance community that understand all of that stuff and how all the chords go together, I'm feeling so blessed right now. It's just amazing.
Amy, all of the best to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, dear. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we end today's show, I'd like to wish my mom, Mary, a very happy birthday today. One of my favorite memories that we shared together this year was going to our very first George Strait concert. We had such a wonderful time, and we cried together when he sang Amarillo by Morning. Happy birthday, Mom. And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.